Welcome to the Come Join Us channel. I'm very fortunate today. I have my good friend Noxie join us here in Stellenbosch. We're at the Stomme Jonge and we're enjoying the lovely Grenache from Lawrence Orensig. Thank you for sharing with us. Noxel, what's up? What's happening?
Great, Sybil. It's so wonderful to see you in Stelly.
Yeah,
it's
I
been a
haven't
long
been
time.
here for a long time. So tell us about what's been happening, who and what you are. Tell us about you.
Well, I've been working for Stellenbosch University since 2005, so I feel like, a resident of Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
And that's in some ways how I ended up meeting you, because I've been living in Stellenbosch and this is the wine region. And yes, very grateful to be having this wonderful Grenache.
This is stunning.
Isn't it stunning?
Yeah, we actually met at the Nederburg wine auction, so
Yes,
we met
absolutely.
through a glass of wine, so
For
pretty
sure.
much. But I want you to tell me, how did you end up in Stellenbosch? Where do you come from? What did you originally study? And you give in class. I mean, Nox is a professor, by the way. So she'll tell us a little bit more in detail why she's a professor. Tell
Well,
us.
I love plant chemicals, and I've always had an interest in plant biochemistry. And when I moved to Stellenbosch after my PhD at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, I thought, why not study Cape Flora? We have this amazing Cape floristic region here with plants that I don't find anywhere else in the world, and wonderful medicinal plants, a very strong cultural connection of the plants to people. So I thought, this is a very interesting area. I live in an interesting part of the world, and it'd be really great to get to understand more about medicinal plants of South Africa. So I'm a medicinal plant biotechnologist, and I have a key focus in studying Cape Flora.
Fantastic. And you are originally from Alice, am I right?
Yes, a little town, smaller than Stellenbosch.
In the Eastern Cape.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And your parents, you grew up there. Your father, you told me once, was pretty much into his plants and so forth as well.
Yep, my dad was a botanist, and I think my first words in English were flower and anything else related to plants and botany. So it's been a long, wonderful journey with plants, and my mom loves to garden. She still is an avid gardener, and plants have always been
part of your life.
surrounding me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you went to girls' school there, St. Anne's, wasn't it? Or where did you
No,
go?
I was actually at DSG in Grahamstown.
Oh, Grahamstown. Okay. And then?
That was a really great experience as well. A wonderful school. And I think my love for biology basically grew there, because I had this crazy, wonderful teacher called Marujuana.
Yeah.
And she used to bring all kinds of specimens into our class. And so that led to this, need to understand more about biological systems.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. And then you went to your tertiary education. Where did you go and do that?
I did that in Natal.
Okay, you said in Natal. Okay,
And when I got back to the Cape, I had to relearn Afrikaans.
Oh gosh.
Because I'd sort of forgotten it.
But you've been here how long now?
I've been here for a while now.
Okay, and with Stellenbosch University?
Yes, Stellenbosch.
From the beginning?
Yep, all the way.
Okay, and then what is your primary function with Stellenbosch University? What do you do for them exactly?
I'm a lecturer, and my duties are basically lecturing, so teaching undergrad classes, doing research, training students at the postgraduate level right up to PhD. And at the same time, I have to have some community involvement.
Yeah.
So those are my three roles which the University of Stellenbosch actually expects from me.
Okay, that's amazing. But I am very fascinated about your medicinal plants. I went to listen to your talk in Joburg, I remember.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that was amazing. And can we touch base a little bit on that? How does your projects normally work, and how do you start with a project and your research and so forth?
So I always try and work on plants which I think are interesting and have a commercial application.
Okay.
And so all the medicinal plants that I work on are either already commercialized, and there's certain key areas that we have very little understanding about, where I feel I can actually add value. Or else we are interested in discovering new plants that can actually fit into the naturopathic space, where people are using plants as botanical drugs.
Okay.
So those are my interests, and I'm also interested in how plants and people connect.
Yes.
And similarly with wine, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, wine actually comes from the grape, the soil where the wine, where the grapes are coming from influences the flavors of the wine. And believe it or not, this is exactly the same with medicinal plants. So at the moment, we're doing a lot of metabolomic analysis. That sounds like a really big word.
Trust me,
all
big,
it
bit too
is,
big for me. Yeah, explain.
all
to me.
it is trying to understand the profile, the chemical profile of a medicinal plant. And so we look at populations from different regions and try and understand how the terroir of the region actually influences the medicinal value.
Yes, see. And what if you find in South Africa, being in a different climate than overseas, for example, or something that you grow in in a grow house or something like that? Is there influences, difficult, one that's natural, one that's in that environment, and that's
Well,
different?
absolutely. I mean, I think plants respond to their space. When you baby them a little bit, then they get lazy. It's like anything. If you are too kind, sometimes, you know, it doesn't get rough enough.
Yes.
So with plants, it's exactly the same. So if you are too tender and too kind and you provide all the perfect conditions, then they don't make these valuable chemicals which are important for health. So different environments, and depending on the climate, will actually influence the secondary metabolite profiles. So we do look at those aspects. We look at how these secondary metabolites are influenced by the genetics.
Is natural always better or not necessarily? Can you manipulate it a little bit?
Yes, you can. You can manipulate it by maybe giving it more rough conditions, which allows the plant to express itself a little bit more. So it just depends on the conditions that you're growing them in.
Okay, awesome. So tell me about the people that you normally work with.
I work with a variety of different people. I work obviously with scientists and researchers, students at undergrad and postgrad level. I mentioned this before. But at the same time, I work with a very unique community of Rastafarian herbalists who are the
That's where I want to get
doctors.
to. Listen, even we're in the vibe here with Poison City Brewery at the back of us.
For sure.
Marijuana. It's
Yes.
a big thing that's going on right now, and a lot of
Absolutely.
people are talking about it with new investments, legalizing it, all of it. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a herb that's been used for centuries, and South Africa is actually not the center for the diversification of cannabis. But we do have our different strains which are unique and naturalized in South Africa. I'm sure some of us have heard about Durban poison and Swazi gold. They're all kinds. And these different strains are uniquely African. And cannabis, from a historical point of view, has had a long association with use for medicinal purposes. I'm not sure if people are aware, but if you are suffering from asthma and you drink a tincture of marijuana tea, it can actually alleviate the tension that's caused in the lungs by asthma.
How would you do it then? So
As a tea.
really,
Yeah.
and you drink it as a tea as
And
well.
you drink it as a tea rather than smoking it.
And is there a specific marijuana that you use, or any marijuana? What would you say?
Well, I would go for medical marijuana because that's the one that's low in the chemicals that make you feel funky and high.
Okay.
So you have different variants of marijuana, and medical marijuana is actually low on THC, which is the chemical that actually makes you to feel high.
Yes.
And it's, I was reading an article the other day about how they're making products for animals from cannabis to relieve pain and rheumatism in dogs, for instance. So all kinds of applications, and I think this is an industry that's going to really go crazy here in South Africa with the new legislation.
It hasn't been legalized completely yet, though, is it?
Well,
Or what is it?
you can have some at home
Yes.
for your own personal use,
Okay.
but the legislation is very unclear at the moment if you want to be a manufacturer of different products.
But then you need to most
have-
probably register and
Absolutely.
know and
Get
so
the right permits,
Yes.
get the right strains, have a team of people that actually know how to grow it properly
Yeah.
and how to domesticate the plant. So there's quite a lot that's actually involved.
There was a massive exhibition now, I think also in Cape Town, where
Yes,
they had
absolutely.
a whole thing about cannabis and the
For
different
sure.
strains of using it, even hemp, for example, making
Yep.
clothes, all of it. So tell me, what's the difference between hemp and cannabis?
Well, they're different variants. Hemp is really wonderful because it gives you these very strong fibers, and cannabis is, well, they're both cannabis, but marijuana that's associated with feeling airy, groovy, is the one that has the high levels of THC. So there are different variants or subspecies, and important for different things.
Okay. And yeah, tell me a little bit more. When you were doing the whole thing with the russes, I can remember you told me something about that you were looking at things for cancer, for example.
Yes.
What your thing that you've seen now with cancer curing, how do they, so I know they interpret it and they know this plant works, and then you come and you say from a medical and / working with it in the lab and so forth, you basically find out why. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. We are interested in whether the claims of traditional healers and sangomas, etc., medicinal practitioners that come from using the plants and actually understanding more about indigenous knowledge. We are interested in whether these plants are working, how do they work, and also trying to get to a point where you can standardize the extract and be able to standardize the dose for use. So we are interested in sort of discovering new natural products, new chemical entities that might fit into a pharmaceutical space. And our first line when it comes to this kind of discovery is actually talking to people that have traditional knowledge with respect to these plants. And I think a really wonderful example to show how traditional knowledge can influence discoveries is artemisinin. Now this is a chemical that's now used as a treatment for malaria.
Okay.
And
Instead of using the hectic malaria pills that's on your kidneys, it works very hectically. All of that.
yeah, so I suppose it's a different anti-malarial treatment, and it was discovered by a Chinese lady, and her basis for making this discovery was actually traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So we are interested in understanding our local traditional medicines and how they can actually fit into a global phytopharmaceutical space.
Yeah. Okay, but that's very interesting. And I mean, how does it work with the whole yin and yang? So, for example, East meets West type of thing. I know you went to China. You've been a
Yes,
few
I've been
times.
a few
Okay,
times
so tell
indeed.
us about your journey there, and then I'll touch base with you about your journey in the USA. Nice wine, eh?
This is really delicious.
I don't drink red wine easily. For me, it's hectic. I love white wines, but this I
This
can
is
drink.
soft and easy drinking, and
Lawrence actually said you must
Really
chill
yummy.
it, and
Yes,
then you
I
have it on a
totally
day.
agree.
But this is like an autumn wine. It's like
a
an awesome
perfect
autumn wine. It's just
wine.
before
And that's what we
winter.
have here in Stellenbosch.
No,
at the
totally.
moment.
I mean, it's stunning. All the you're losing
The
leaves,
oaks are
but
going
it's
yellow, and
yeah, and yellow
all the
leaves
oranges
and all
are
over.
coming through. It's
Oh,
wonderful.
stunning.
That whole, so I think there's a lot of opportunities at the moment for female researchers, and also to just change the way that we visualize our worlds. I think when you have a diversity of different ideas, you are able to innovate and solve different kinds of problems.
Totally.
If you've got only one way of thinking, then your solutions are going to be sidetracked, or they will follow one particular linear direction.
Fabulous. Thank you from our side at Come Join Us podcast channel. Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.